Good morning. We are continuing our series, Walking Through the Book of James. As I said last week, James is filled with practical advice. James, who's the brother of Jesus, wrote this book to help all believers who read it grow in their faith and their walk with Christ in very practical ways. You have other books of the Bible, like books like Paul wrote, letters that Paul wrote, that talk a lot about the spiritual aspects of our faith, of like faith and believing and trusting and salvation. What James does is give us super practical information that we can build steps in our lives to do things to draw us to be closer to Jesus. Now, one thing that gets very confusing sometimes with James is that people look at James and they think that James is teaching that we have to do works in order to be saved. But instead, what James is actually showing us to do is ways to live out that faith we already have. We already have that faith in Jesus, that faith that Paul in Romans, like we've talked about before, says saves us. Well, James comes along and says, yeah, that faith you have in Jesus saves you. And here's what that faith looks like as you live it out. Last week, we looked at the first 4 verses of James. We talked about perseverance in trials and struggles. And this week, we're going to do the next few verses. James chapter 1, verses 5 through 9. James moves through our approach to God when we have need of things. So in those times of perseverance, in those times of struggle, there are certain things that we pray for. Wisdom, patience, the ability to make it through. And what these next few verses talk about is how when we're in the middle of the struggle, when we're in the middle of the trial, and we're trying to build that perseverance and trying to have that joy in the middle of it, this is how we should pray. This is how we pray to God. So, James chapter 1, verses 5 through 9. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in their high position. So we consider it pure joy when we are going through struggle. When we are in the middle of the struggle, the hard times, it's pretty common for us to turn to God, right? Like when you're really struggling with something, when you have deep depression or deep problems arise in your life and they take hold inside of you, you cry out to God, you're like, God, help me with this. We turn to God and we make requests of him. We ask him for help. We ask him to bring us through, to give us strength and wisdom and protection, all of these things. And what this passage tells us is that when we ask for these things, if we ask for these things with a heart set on him, set on living our lives as he has called us to live our lives, and with full intention to continue to do that, he will grant us those things. God will always provide you with strength, with wisdom and perseverance. He will always have those things for those who ask for them. The problem is sometimes we ask for those things not expecting to receive it at all, or not expecting how we receive it. Now, sometimes we pray that those prayers for wisdom, thinking, oh yeah, God's not really going to do this, but it's common that we pray for this thing. And in those times, James says that's not going to happen. You have to pray for wisdom with full belief that God can grant you more wisdom. And the other side of that is you have to be ready for how he's going to teach you wisdom. James tells us the importance of believing in God, that he will always give us what we ask for him and not doubting. Sometimes we believe that God can give us wisdom, but we're not ready for how he presents the wisdom to us. You see, wisdom is one of those things. Wisdom isn't gifted to somebody unless you're Solomon. Wisdom is something that's learned. If you really need wisdom to help you in a situation, God's going to give you wisdom, but how he's going to do that is he's going to present you with opportunities to learn to be wise. If you want to build perseverance in your life, if you want to build strength in your life, God is not just going to magically give those to you. He's going to bring about opportunities in your life to build those things that you want to build your faith, to build those things to help you overcome the situations that may come up in your life. And what James is saying here in this passage is that if you want to feel God move through your prayers, you have to pray with full belief that he is going to grant those prayers for you. And two, what he's saying is you have to be ready for how he's going to present those things to you. As you move through this week, look for the opportunities that God has presented you that are an answer to your prayers. When you've prayed for patience because of one situation or another, look for the opportunities where God has presented you with the ability to be patient. You might have that annoying coworker or that annoying family member, and you're like, man, I wish I could just be more patient with that person because I don't know what they're going through. I don't know why they're always annoying me, but it's always really annoying. Maybe the next time they're annoying you, it's God. It's not them annoying you. It's God presenting you with an opportunity to learn how to be a little bit more patient with that person. Look for those opportunities that God is going to provide you for answered prayer this week. And when you pray for wisdom, look for opportunities that God is going to give you to make you wise. Keep an eye out for the opportunities that God is going to present you through prayer. Have a great rest of the week.